Alrighty, welcome back, and we're into Game 2 between Crimson and Mad because Bad. It is a lower bracket round 2 match of the HGC qualifiers week 3 playoffs for games done by GameStar and with help by Blizzard ANZ, so thank you very much for helping out. And we are 1-0 in favour of Crimson, and that was a very strong game on their behalf on Towers of Doom, I believe it was. I've already forgotten. It was only a few minutes ago, but we are now into Game 2, well, at least the draft of Game 2, and it is going to be on Tomb of the Spider Queen. The two maps that were banned away were the two StarCraft ones, Brax's Holdout and Warhead Junction. And to be honest, not too surprising, but a little bit disappointing because I kind of enjoy watching Warhead Junction, but I'll have to get my fix by watching the Chinese HGC. But we are already got some of the draft underway, as the Genji was the first ban, the Garrosh in response by Crimson. We've been seeing that be an incredibly powerful pick so far tonight, so not wanting to deal with that one and allowing that to go through for first pick. But the Greymane, as versatile as ever and powerful as ever, is going to jump back up into that first pick position for Mad because Bad, whereas Crimson, they are going to be actually picking up the Johanna as well as the Kalthar. So they are very much onto the wave clear train. Tomb of the Spider Queen is a map where wave clear is rather highly prioritized. You want to be clearing out those waves, gathering those gems and rotating around the map and making plays that way. So Johanna gets a lot of value on this map, more so than others, because of her ability to do such. She can condemn, punish, and clear out a wave rather efficiently, and the Kalthas likewise. Whereas on the other side, now we have the Stitches and the Uther. So already an incredibly stable trio coming out of Mad because Bad. We've seen it for quite a few seasons now. The Greymane, the Stitches, the Uther do so much work. The Stitches into Uther combination, the hook into the Hammer of Justice, and any kind of follow-up should be enough to finish them off. But will they be able to pick off that Kalthas? That is going to be the big target that they'll be looking towards, especially if he goes towards Convection. I'm not entirely sure he'll be going towards it. We'll more than likely see him go towards the safer Arcane Barrier, the Mana Addict, talent at level 1, get that one stacking up, as it's much more safer and you can still get a rather significant payout at the end. So we are now into the second round of bans. We have to see what Crimson do not want to be dealing with. If they want to take away something like a Dahaka, do they want to take away something like a Malthael, some kind of solo laner where they feel as though it's going to be a bit of a problem. But it is going to be a front liner, and that's going to be the Arthas taken away. They do not want to be dealing with that Lich King. He's just a little bit strong, and especially when you wanted to rely on some frontliners to have a bit more freedom in these fights. On the other side is going to be the Stukov, which is going to be banned away. We saw it from the Shadow in the previous game, and also in the previous series. They picked that one up and was doing quite a bit of work with it. Those lurking arms getting a lot of value, and even those flailing swipes, yeah, a lot of them were defensively to try and help out the rest of the team to get away while he kind of sacrificed his life. But he was always pumping out those heals, also getting those lurking arms in at the good spots, and really being a real nuisance to deal with. So not wanting to deal with that, and forcing Crimson to start working towards a different support pick. Sure, there is the Rhaegar, who is still on the table and is a very highly prioritized one, but they're actually going to go with the Kharazims. So they have the Malthael and Johanna on the front line, and the Kharazim can go forward with that, which is a kind of composition that you want to be. If you do have the Kharazim, you want a composition that wants to be moving forward. You want to be down and dirty and brawling, and Kharazim allows that to happen. Yeah, so we'll have to see how they finalize the composition. They'll probably want either another range DPS or some other kind of wave clear. But I believe them could just be the Malthael that they'll be wanting to have that as that solo laner, as a sufficient wave clear to stick on his own. But now we're on to the last couple of picks for Mad because Bad. We'll have to see what they finalize their composition with. As I was mentioning during the second ban phase, there's things like the Dahaka, there's things like Sonya who can put a lot of pressure. There's even the Leoric. We've been seeing a fair bit of Leoric over the course of tonight doing a lot of work, but Ragnaros and Gul'dan, two picks that fairly strong for the map. Ragnaros can control the lane quite well, or at least clear a wave quite well. There's a reasonable amount of wave clear. He has good defense against those web weavers should you be behind with that molten core, and can do a fair amount of damage, and has a reasonable amount of sustain. But he could have a bit of trouble against that Malthael, and that Gul'dan wanting to go a bit more into that wave clear will do a lot of work in that regard with those fell flames, with those corruptions. Will really help out right there, and also does a lot of damage. We've been seeing the Echoed Corruption build coming back more and more. Usually on maps where you are kind of ensured to be going towards a later game. To the Spider Queen, you can be pretty safe in assuming that you're going to be getting to a bit of a later game where you can quite efficiently, or at least quite assuredly, stack up that questing talent of the Echo Corruption and really start pumping out the damage. Whereas on the other side, it's going to be the Tychus. So he wants to be shredding down that front line. There's 3 melee on the side of Mad Because Bad, the Stitches, the Uther, the Ragnars, and if they should ever step a little bit out of line, they are going to get absolutely shredded by that Tychus. They have percentage damage for days, Tychus and Malthael. That is going to be a bit of a rough one to deal with. Yes, Uther can grant armor with his healing, but we're on the live patch. That has been nerfed a little bit, down from 25 down to 15, I believe those are the numbers, or I haven't been paying attention to the numbers correctly, but it has been nerfed. But regardless, if you have armor, it doesn't necessarily matter how much armor you have. You can have 100 armor, but if you're just getting percentage HP damage shred, you're going to take so much damage in the end, and it will almost circumvent that kind of armor stacking. So that Tychus is going to be very pivotal when we start to get into these big team fights in shredding down some of those targets that are getting a lot of that healing out of that Uther. Alright, so we are getting into game. This is game 2 of this best of 3. Crimson are 1-0 up, and they are on the blue side, and it is Altivian back onto the Tychus. The Shadow is on Karazim, Leica is on Johanna, Jesmez on Malthael, and Azure is on Kel'Thas, whereas on the red side, they are 1-0 down, looking to make a comeback. In this lower bracket series, we have Mad Because Bad. It is Tanner on Stitches, Jester on Ragnaros, Takiza on Greymane, Helium on Uther, and OG is on the Gul'dan, and he has picked up that Echoed Corruption, looking to stack that one up. And once we get later and later into this game, his damage potential is going to go through the roof, and we'll have to see if this Karazim might struggle a little bit to try and keep up with the amount of damage, keep up with his healing, with just how much damage is coming out of this lineup from Mad Because Bad. But I have to wait and see, as we do actually have an interesting pick of the Hammer of the Lightbringer coming out of the Uther. Yes, he did cop a bit of a nerf, and I believe that was one of his level 1 standard talent of the but yeah, he's going to go towards the melee attacking. He wants to be hitting things, and hitting things a lot. And it is actually going to be the Mana Addict, so not wanting to go a little bit dangerous with those Convection. But as we are getting into the early stages of this game, as I was mentioning during the draft, is essentially just lane clear, grab the gems, move on, rinse and repeat ad nauseum until you get enough for a turn-in, and then you can try and control those turn in points and try and play around that. As a nice gravity lapse onto LG has to be forced away, as a nice amount of damage coming out from this Kel'Thas so far, as KT is no longer going to be a easy one to use, as we do have a nice hook down onto Leica, but he is a Johanna and does not give a damn. Yeah, KT is going to be a little bit of a problem to use as we get into some of the later patches, as we will have Kel'Thuzad coming in, who looks so goddamn awesome, but that is going to be yet another KT to try and get confused with. But I, for one, welcome that Lich. It's going to be so much fun. He looks so cool, and not because of all the iciness, but alrighty, nothing going on too much. This as I was mentioning, just trading back and forth. Jesmez versus Jester on this bottom side is probably going to be the most discrepancy that we'll see. And we do actually get the hook down onto Azure, so he was going to be, he's lost into defensive posture, but they are able to just return so much damage. We see Ultivian on that Tychus just shredding anyone who steps in in his line of fire, and is going to be collecting up a lot of those gems, and they're going to be trying to... Ooh, Tanner trying to pick off anyone in rotation, but he's going to get picked off instead. It's taking a lot of damage, but there's that healing and that armor coming out from the Uthers. Going to be helping out in that regard. And yeah, we're just back to standard play. We're just back to wave clear. Not much happening just yet. Ultivian does take a little bit of damage. It's going to be forced back as we do have the Shadow. He's trying to start roaming and trying to help out the rest of the lanes, but Jesmez should be more than okay. He did get a nice hand-in on the bottom side, so they have 12 in the bank already. As Tanner's taking a lot of damage, he should be fine as a nice hook goes down onto Azure, but there's absolutely no follow-up. The Gravity Lapse goes down onto Old G, and in the end, nothing happens again. As this game goes on and on, we are starting to see a little minor experience lead in favor of Crimson, but until we start getting those turn-ins, we're not really going to be seeing too much just yet. As a nice turn-in comes in for Liger, so they only need 10 more left on the side of Crimson, and then we could really start to see an experience lead explode. We usually see those first turn-ins potentially turn into second turn-ins due to heroic advantage. There's another hook going in just a little bit wide from Tanner's. Now they're going to start turning down onto the Stitches, as they just don't have that burst damage just yet. We do have Azure stacking up with those mana addict snacks, as Pageza does get a nice little opportunity to turn in his own gems, as Tanner's taking a lot of damage. Here's a percentage shred as the healing is trying to help out. They do nice Gravity Lapse, nice amount of damage, dropping it very low, but he does manage to sustain himself up just enough. Let's go back into standard wave clear. We do have enough gems onto Liger himself, as an ice hook goes down onto Ultivian. They're trying to take him down immediately, but they don't have that burst in just yet, as the Shadow is going to be the next target, dropped very low, but he does dash himself away from danger. And there's been some very dangerous moments for some of the members of Crimson, but with that follow-up, just not enough out of Mavic's bad just yet. They're just not able to follow up on any of these targets, as Ultivian is going to take a lot of damage. A nice grenade to knock him back just a little bit, as the healing from the Shadow is going to be helping out a lot, as they are going to use a lot of this time just to secure that first Web Weaver phase. It's going to be a blue one, and now we have to see how Mavic's bad react to this. They have to be careful that they don't get caught out, as Ultivian takes another hook. He's taking so much damage, and that is going to be the first kill of the game, as the Shadow is trying to just move forward. He does manage to get the kill. Is he able to get out of that in response? He does, so he is going to be able to trade it back, and that is an incredibly pivotal kill at this point in the game. They managed to remove a lot of the wave clear that could have held off a lot of this Web Weaver phase, but now that is down, they can force in a lot of these structures, maybe get more than what you usually get. It looks like they are just going to get maybe that last tower. There it is. And they are going to allow, it is going to give them so much more room on this top side of the map. They are going to be able to grab the two towers, but with OG now back in time to hold off this wave, they will be able to hold it just a little bit longer, but still, the damage is starting to come through. A minor XP advantage in favor of Crimson, and now we have to see if Mavic's bad can actually get a turn-in for themselves. We're not far off yet another back-to-back turn-in for Crimson, and should Crimson hold on to these points, at least control the space around these turn-in points, they could pretty much choke out the members of Mavic's bad, but they're not able to, because they just essentially just circumvented by going to the bomb side. Jesmez, he's going to be dropping 17 gems, as that could be very, very important as we get into this next Web Weaver phase, and it's going to be a red one, so they do return the favor, and to be honest, this could just turn out to be a heroic, a push to get heroics for Mavic's bad. Yes, Crimson are closer to getting it, but with these Web Weavers, they can get some of those standing towers, get that little bit of extra boost to their XP gain, and it looks like it's just going to end up with equal timing on these heroics, and in the end, it's just going to be a very, very even game so far as Azuri is stepping forward, trying to put out a lot of the damage. He is going to get nice living bomb to go on to Giza, as Leica is now in a bit of a weird position, trying to come in for a flank as he is going to get turned on by the rest of the members of Mad Because Bad. They're trying to get some play happening. But a nice hook down onto Ortivian. They don't have the follow-up just yet. The hammer is there. Oh, a nice amount of damage coming out from the Kalthas. There's no follow-up to the Divine Storm. Is a nice. Sulfurious is going to get used as his stasis does get proc. The palm at a nice position. As Jesmez coming in from the side, and a nice amount of souls is going to pick up two. They're trying to get yet another. Helium is going very low as they do use the race rock to get in there. That's going to be another one falling down. The hook goes wide, and that is going to be in a very precarious position, but he does manage to get out of there with the extra healing thanks to Uther's devotion passive. But in the end, it's going to be a 4-0 in favor of Crimson, and now they're in a position to get a hand in and keep on pushing the pressure. They have finally dealt with these web warriors who did a decent amount of damage on the top side of the map, but they have enough to get another turn in for themselves, and they can start pushing the pressure. They look like they're just going to start working their way towards this boss, and this could be a bit of a risk, but the members of Mad Because Bad, they're working on their own bruiser camp, and there's absolutely no idea that they are starting towards this boss, and this is going to be a free boss going over to Crimson. There's absolutely nothing that Mad Because Bad can do, and they're going to have a bit of a shock when they see this one come through, and they have to be very careful with how they play this. Crimson can just start to work towards getting their hand in now. They have the room now thanks to this boss. They could just pick up a couple of forts. That camp is going to be pushing through the mid lane, so they will have to respond to that. But in the end, it's just going to be trading camps, but this boss is going to be doing a little bit more, and it also gave a bit more room over to Crimson, so they can get their hand in, and they can use this to push their advantage just that little bit further. It's ending up just equalizing the damage on these top forts. Level 13 almost picked up on the side of Crimson. And let me see, anything out of the ordinary. Only thing I believe I saw, which was a little bit strange, yeah, was that Divine Storm. They didn't really get as much out of it as they probably would have liked. There was not really the follow-up due to the incredible engage coming out from the rest of Crimson, where they were able to just blast down the members of Mad Because Bad with no follow-up in sight. So now they do have this strong push, and as likely he's going to be scouting out, they do find Thanos. I'm going to be expecting a hook in 3, 2, 1. Nope. Okay, so Crimson pushing down on the bottom side. They are going to be using the Odin to just keep on applying the pressure. Gul'dan is out of position. He's not able to help out just yet. Bottom core has to get popped, and this could very well just force away the members of Crimson. They are going to start working their way in. This bottom core is going to expire eventually, but that Web Weaver hasn't fallen in time, and now we get the hook down onto Jesmez. They want to get the follow-up as a nice. Blessed Shield is going to be used as a response, and Divine Storm does lock down so many members on the side of Crimson, but it's not really enough. The follow-up is there. Sulfurious is furious and manages to hit so many members of Crimson, but the turnaround is there. There's not nearly enough damage coming out of Mad Because Bad just yet, and the sustain is just somehow just a little bit too much on the side of Crimson. They managed to win 2v4. 2 kills for 4, and they are just going to keep on pushing the tempo. Tanner is trying to dissuade them, trying to at least just clear the wave so they can't just take the keep. They do a lot of damage to it, and he is trying to pick off anyone in retreat. He is stalking them like a beast in the night. He wants to get that hook. Azure is such a juicy target. Does manage to get out of there though. So in the end, it is going to just be a lot of damage to the structures of Mad Because Bad. Crimson do get out of there with their lives, but a lot of the gems on Mad Because Bad were taken care of. They did drop a lot of them. Only a stack of them onto Tanner. Sure, he has a decent amount, but they are going to be stacking up for a while if they want to get enough for another turn in. Whereas on the other side, they're already just 10 away to get another turn in. And now we're back into another bit of a just holding pattern as we are getting some of the bruiser camps, and so I believe we'll start to have some movement towards the bottom side, as I believe the bottom side of the map will be a position where Crimson could very well start to apply more pressure on it due to that very low keep on the bottom side. But LG wanted to keep on pushing, keep on getting some of that experience back in their favor, try and at least mitigate a lot of the losses that they may suffer from the level 16 advantage coming out for Crimson. They are in a nice hiding position where they can at least control both of the turn-in points. With these Stitches, they have the tools available to them where they can get one of those very high priority hooks and turn if they can pick off one of those very key targets, they can get a fight in their favor, and then they can start turning this game around. But already Crimson is still in a pretty good position. 16 has been picked up. Because Bad have to be careful. They don't have enough in the bank to overcome that level and talent advantage. But as I mentioned, if they can get those key hooks and have that strong follow-up, they can get something working. But Web Weavers are going to be picked up. There's enough gems handed in by Crimson, and now they're going to start working on the top side of the map. They are going to be using 2 points of pressure to try and drag Mad Because Bad all around the map. They're going to be pushing top side along with this Web Weaver to allow the bottom side to push and try and take down that keep just passively with these Web Weavers. But we are going to have Jester on this Ragnaros trying to push back against it to at least hold on to that line, onto that lane as much as possible, but they could be giving up a little bit too much. They won't have that Molten Core to help out with this defense, and it could be very dangerous for Mad Because Bad. They are going to be taking a bit of damage from the Web Weaver. Like, it goes in a nice gravity lapse, but the Flame Strike was just a little bit out of range. Not able to finish it off. As the Phoenix actually gets dropped as well, they really want to go all in for this keep. They have used the Odin as well. A nice hook down onto Zero, but they managed to just turn the fight around as so much damage. They've already lost their Uther, but he is still going to be able to be useful. The Shadow is in amongst it, trying to help out. Jester, the nice palm does help out. In the Malthael is sticking around. A lot of AoE damage coming out of the Ragnaros, but it's just not nearly enough. They are able to get out of there in the end. It ended up as just a 1-for-0, but it is just going to be that and the keep going over in favor of Crimson, and it was so close, so many members going so very low, but the healing coming out from the Shadow is doing an incredible amount of work. Just looking at the numbers, is actually out healing the Uther at this point. Is incredible amounts of work. And this is just going to give them the room to take this boss. A nice hook down onto Leica. That's not the one they want, but they're just going to turn and do so much damage. But with the healing, with the shields, is going to be able to turn that fight around. Stitches is going to fall. The Ragnaros is going to drop as well. Helium is trying to help out the Geezer, try and get him back to safety, but it looks like this could very well just be the end. They are just losing members at the worst possible time. This boss is going to start working its way towards the core. There's only the 2 DPS on the side of Mad Because Bad available. They have to make a Herculean effort to try and hold on to their base. The Geezers are coming from the bottom side. LG on the top. Jesmo's taking a lot of damage, but with this boss there, they just don't have enough in the tank to try and hold it off. And this looks like it's just going to be game, set, and match. Crimson take the series 2-0 over Mad Because Bad.